Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. The Dominic Carter Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And the number to reach me live this hour, 800-848-9222. Every dog has their day. You know the saying. I'm talking about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and I can't wait. Wait until you hear the latest of what President Trump has to say about the Congresswoman from Minnesota. Well, Mom Donnie, you better teach your wife, or at least instruct her, or whatever the case may be, that if you're going to be a racist, you better learn how to hide it. Miss Israel says she randomly bumped into the mayor's wife at a Brooklyn cafe, and it was all horribly wrong. Coming up, we'll be talking to Congressman Peter King. That is at the bottom of the hour. And to those of you that hate President Trump, to those of you that despise him, that he can't do any good, even though he'll go down in history as the greatest president ever, wait until you hear his latest joke about staying in office, and boy, it's going to drive the left crazy. And let me also say, we've been following the health condition of former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and I was quoted yesterday in the New York Post, and the quote was accurate. And I am a longtime City Hall reporter, perhaps the longest out there. I hope that doesn't make me an old man. And I said at the news conference with the head of this network, Mr. John Catsimatidis, that Rudy Giuliani will go down in history as the best mayor of New York City ever. I said it. I meant it. It's based on the facts. 800-848-9222. Let's start. Let's begin. President Trump on Ilhan Omar and this story that just won't go away, that she married her brother.
And then she comes here from Somalia, and she tells us how to run the United States of America. She says, the Constitution gives me certain rights. And I demand that I be given these rights. Get the hell out. What a phony. And then she married a brother to come in. I don't know, you're not. But I would imagine they're looking at her. I have nothing to do with it. I would imagine. Of course I have nothing to do. I have nothing, but I believe she married her brother, which is totally illegal. Although it's a lovely couple, actually, but it's a little bit on the illegal side. Darling, I love you very much. Good night, brother. Let's go to bed. Good night. Isn't she despicable? I can't stand watching. I can't stand. Did you see last month she accidentally checked the wrong box and said she was worth $38 million? And law enforcement came after her for that. And then all of a sudden she was worth less than $80,000. And she said it was accounting. It was an accounting error. That was not a very good accountant, was it? Huh? No. Their whole life is based on fraud and a scam. The whole thing is a scam, and we ought to get those people the hell out of our country.
And Mr. President, thank you for that. We need that clarity. We need that truth. And the fact of the matter is the corruption just oozes from the pores, if you will, of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. I'm worth 80,000. I'm worth 30 million. Oh, I got busted. Now I'm worth 80,000 again. And I'm going to start with your telephone calls, your live calls in just a second. Sal in New Jersey. If you don't think that Rudy Giuliani is the greatest mayor that New York City has ever had, please tell me who is. I know you're not going to say, Mamdani. There is no way possible he's driving the city down. There's a song out there, I forgot who made it. It goes, I'm going down because you're not around. Well, we're going down, Mamdani, because you are around. The only thing he did right since he's been in office is he didn't go to the Met Gala last night. I guess he'll wait till 3 years from now, his last year in office, like they all do, and then they show up to it. 800-848-9222. We'll get to Iran in just a second, but let's start with your telephone calls. Line 1, Sal in New Jersey. Sal, what's on your mind?
Good afternoon, Dominic. Dominic, I hope that we get Ilhan Omar, and I hope that starts a domino effect. We get rid of all of the other bad Democrats in the squad.
The squad folks, I know how they got there, Sal, but it's been one of the worst things that's ever happened to America. And I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but thank you very much, George Floyd. You took us down this road with your situation, and he's gone, and the rest of us are stuck to deal with this mess. But I couldn't agree with you more, Sal. Thank you for the wonderful call. So let's get to Iran. I think we're all concerned that the situation might possibly be escalating. President Trump called up one of the lead reporters from Fox News, and this is how the reporter broke down the conversation.
Sandra, good afternoon. I spoke with President Trump for 20 minutes about the situation with Iran. He talked about Project Freedom and the U.S. efforts to guide vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, issuing a new warning to the Iranian regime, saying if the Iranians try to target U.S. ships in this area, they will be, quote, blown off the face of the earth. Remember, this was a project implemented by the Americans overnight to assist the hundreds of vessels that are currently trapped in the Persian Gulf. We're talking about more than 20,000 sailors. And the president told Fox he's doing this for humanity. Some of these sailors were running out of food and supplies on these vessels due to the Iranian threats that are ongoing in this area. And again, the president saying that if U.S. ships in the region are targeted, the Iranians will be blown off the face of the earth. Now, I also asked President Trump about the possibility of negotiations with Iran succeeding. He said the Iranians are being far more malleable than they were being in the past, showing flexibility given the U.S. pressure that continues as part of the American blockade of Iranian ports. President Trump called that blockade the greatest military maneuver in history.
So very much so an ongoing situation. I don't think any of us can accurately describe or predict what's going on or what's going to happen. But I still bet on Team Trump, period. The man is constantly playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. 800-848-9222. Jan, line 1, New Jersey. Jan, what's going on? What's on your mind?
Hey, Dominic. I heard President Trump talking about Omar, and I'm surprised he didn't say incest is best.
It's a horrible situation. She has that stupid look on her face all the time, that arrogance. I mean, where's the gratitude? Okay, so like, for example, Jan, I'm thankful all the time of the great things that this country did for me. Taking me out of the projects of the Bronx and getting a college education and turning the tide for my entire family. I'm grateful. So I've been to Somalia. Nobody wants to go to Somalia. Trust me. One, I was so delirious, Jan. I think it took us 21 hours to get there flying with the military. I kid you not, Jan. So as part of the insurance riders that we had to adhere to for our families to if something happened to us while we were there, because there were warnings that the snipers on the roof would take a shot at us if we left the base, and the base was the Mogadishu airport. So I didn't leave the base. But I was so delirious that when I got there, it was 6:00 in the morning. I kid you not, Jan. And there were no shower facilities, none. The soldiers were bathing with bottles of water. They had to put nets to get away from these large mosquitoes over their cots. And this was at the airport. And I was so delirious because of the weather. It was like 110 degrees at 6 a.m. in the morning. And the bulletproof vests that they have now are very thin and so on. No. Back in the day, they were very thick. And so I get off the plane. I've got a producer with me. I've got a photographer with me. And I said, guys, I'm thirsty. Let's go to the corner store and get something to drink. Jan, I literally said this. There is no corner store. There is no nothing. President Trump is correct. Is one of the worst places on earth. And then Ilhan Omar comes here and has the nerve to preach to Americans. Jan, before I go on to Larry in Staten Island, you tell me, how is that so?
Well, you know what the people forget, the American people, is that what did they drag around in the streets? They drug around our military soldiers. Remember that?
Yes.
Behind things, and all the people lined the streets, and they were whacking the dead bodies of our soldiers. So you know what? She can go back to that hellhole that she came from and let her fix that crap up.
Amen. Go be the princess over there, Congresswoman. Let's go to Larry. Line 3, Staten Island. Larry, what's on your mind?
Hi, Brother Dominic. To answer your question about Rudolph Giuliani, unequivocally, he was the greatest mayor this city has ever had. Now, This city, and I'm not going to lay all the blame on Dinkins or anybody else, there is a history here that goes back to the 60s at John V. Lindsay that had to be repaired, the problems and conditions in this town. It took a long time to do it, but really got it done. We got the train back on the tracks, and we rolled on. And behind him, I would say Fiorello LaGuardia was one of the greatest. Agreed.
Larry, help me out here. For the city of New York, why won't they give Giuliani the credit he deserves? Is it because of his being aligned with President Trump?
Yeah, that's part of it. And plus, he's a Republican mayor. They don't like the Republicans in this town. Look at your city council. All Democrats.
Yeah. You got a point there, Larry, because they are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. The speaker seems somewhat moderate, but the rest of them are absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Larry, thank you for the great call. Let's go to line 2. John in Brooklyn. John, what's going on? What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, Dominic. First time, long time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I got a story about Giuliani to show you how true of a gentleman and a mayor he was. During a rough time of September 11th, I had a friend of mine who had lost her brother in a fire in Staten Island, who was a fireman, and Giuliani was at the wake, and he found out that the sister was getting married in September 16, 2001, and he made a promise to walk her down the aisle because her father and her grandfather were no longer around either. And everything that went on during 9/11, he still showed up to the Brooklyn community and walked her down the aisle as a gentleman and then got back to business as the mayor of New York City. The man was running a city at a time when we had disgraceful things happen to our country, and that man still found the time to walk this young lady down the aisle, and that's a true gentleman.
And, John, I thank you for that story because that's the real deal, true Rudy Giuliani. That's who the man is. Yes, he would get on camera and yell and scream sometimes or raise his voice. And he would sometimes say things. You know what? I'm going to pick back up on that when we come back. Let's take a break. We're going to be coming right back with more of your telephone calls. And coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll talk live to former Congressman Peter King. We are coming right back.
Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. The Dominic Carter Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, Mom Donnie. Looks like you need to have a conversation with your wife. She was in a cafe, apparently over the weekend, Williamsburg, and she did not know that the lady sitting right next to her happened to be Miss Israel. And they were having a good conversation, that is, according to Miss Israel, until she told the city's first lady, where she was from in terms of, winning the beauty pageant. And that's when things went south and she didn't want to talk anymore. So Mom Donnie, you gotta show your wife how to play the game like you do. You hate cops, but you pretend because you're the leader of the city. And you know what, folks? This is going to sound weird. It's going to sound really weird, really weird. A mayor gets to carry out their agenda. But it's scary that this guy, he hates ICE. He went out of his way to say that incident over the weekend where ICE went to the hospital in Brooklyn and had to arrest this guy with a record. He went out of his way, that is Mom Donnie, to say that the NYPD did not cooperate with ICE. This guy is the mayor. Your wife is a racist. And it is what it is, Mom Donnie. But a quick story. I see your calls. I'm going to Roberta and Staten Island in just a moment. I remember the heyday Giuliani. Every day I was sent out, frankly, to find a way to get under his skin. And I was very good at doing it every day. But Rudy was a true mayor, a true champion. Yes, we would go at each other, and it's public. It's been written about in books. It's been written about a lot in newspapers, the relationship that Giuliani and I had. But it's funny how life sometimes leads people to each other. So one day, I'm sent to question Giuliani, and he was under fire. The black community was up in arms about arrest and the relationship with the NYPD. And here it is, this lead African-American reporter out of City Hall, me. And so, Mr. Mayor, how do you react? And I something about people being killed. And he said, well, let's start with the fact that I'm keeping people alive. And my first instinct, of course, I didn't say anything, was you cold SOB. How dare you say something like that? And then I thought about what Giuliani said once I got back to the live truck. He was saying to the black community, I'm keeping you alive. Let's start with that. And he was right. Now that I look back in retrospect, 2,000 murders down to historic numbers. Now things are out of control. Now we have 7-month-old babies shot in the head in their stroller in Brooklyn. We need Giuliani back again. That's the truth, Ruth. But can you handle it? I don't think so. Let's go to Roberta, Staten Island, line 2. What's on your mind, young lady?
Hi. Well, I just want to mention that Ellen Omar, I heard about her and her illicit marriage to the brother was supposed to be illegal at least a half a dozen years. But, talk is cheap. Nobody does anything about it, though. I mean, even President Trump mentions it.
Right. No, I think the Trump administration, Roberta, is going to do something. Remember what I said. President Trump is always playing chess when others are playing checkers. So let's wait and see what happens. But can you imagine that? You married your brother. Now, obviously, it was a scam to get into the country, but you married your brother and you have the nerve to challenge the president of the United States with your big mouth. Time for a break. When we come back, we see your calls. We'll talk live to former Congressman Peter King. Stay with us.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
The Dominic Carter Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we see your telephone calls. We're going to get to them. But first, and this is something I look forward to each and every week, we are joined live by former Congressman Peter King. Congressman, how are you?
Dominic, whenever I'm talking to you, I am on top of the world.
Well, I feel the same way, Congressman. You're the real deal. I say it week in, week out. I guess we should start. I want to ask you about Mom Donnie. Because to be honest with you, there are times, I really shouldn't admit this, but there are times that I have to pinch myself and I say, is this guy really the mayor? I watch him at some of his news conferences. I'm like, I'm like, who cares what you say? But then I'm like, he's the mayor. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to Ilhan Omar. I can't wait until she's in handcuffs to see that smug look taken off her face. How does Iran, the situation in Iran play out? Are you worried, Congressman, that this may become much more than what we're dealing with right now?
Well, you have to be concerned. Anytime you're involved in any kind of a war, anything can happen, especially when you're dealing with such a group of madmen as we have in Iran. However, I also have faith in President Trump, and I have faith in the American military, and I just wish I had more faith in the American people, not to panic and not to cut and run. I mean, President Trump would not have engaged in this war. That's what it is, a war. If it were not serious, if it did not involve, in many ways, the future, not just of our country, but of the world. I mean, you're talking about having madmen having access to nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. So this is something important. We're not doing it for the fun of it. It's not like we're trying to pick up a little piece of property here or there or make a quick real estate deal or a quick deal. This is something that involves mankind. So if it's that important, then it's worth making the sacrifice for. Now, listen, I know there's a lot of middle income and lower middle income people who are really having a hard time now with the increase in gasoline costs. When they go to the gas station, when they go to fill up, I realize what that issue is. But on the other hand, this went on in World War II, and the American people stood strong. And there's any number of times in our history when things. Listen, I was alive during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and we thought we might be dead any day. But the American people stayed strong. And after 9/11 here in New York, we all stayed strong. So I think we have to have that, give the president and the military the opportunity to get this done. I'm not over that. I'm not in Washington anymore. I don't have access to intelligence information or military information. But I have faith that our military has the capacity to do whatever it has to do if it's given the opportunity and given the time to get it done.
Congressman King, I was sad yesterday when I heard what had happened in a federal courtroom in D.C. A judge appointed by Obama apologizes to the attempted assassin because the little poor baby was upset about the jail conditions, and a federal judge apologized. Was it warranted? I don't think so. You might disagree with me. Or is this an indication of where our country is headed, where things are right now?
Well, not only did it warrant an apology, it was disgraceful that the judge did it. Now, listen, judges often get involved in changing the conditions. We say this should be made better, this should be improved somewhat. That's all part of the criminal justice system. But to be apologizing to someone who, by all accounts, attempted to wipe out and murder the entire cabinet of the United States, the president of the United States, and at the very least would have put hundreds of innocent lives at risk, to be apologizing to him is absolute insanity. It's disgraceful. If the judge had said, listen, we'll take what you said under advisement, and I'll talk to the corrections officers to see what, it has to be done to bring it up to constitutional standards. If it's not, that's fine. That's all. And also you want to keep the record clean so if it goes up on appeal, it doesn't appear as if this guy was being, unintentionally or intentionally harassed or tortured or anything like that. But to apologize? No, absolutely not. And I don't know what was in this judge's mind. Maybe I do, unfortunately. Maybe it's that whole Obama style, this whole thing of apologizing for America. Remember, President Obama, as far as I know, was the first president that went on an overseas apology tour to the Middle East, apologizing to the United States of America. So I guess, the apple didn't fall far from the tree here.
I was sad. I was really sad. I couldn't believe, what I was looking at. A federal judge, days ago, this man tried to take out not just the president, as you said, the entire cabinet. And he's whining about his jail conditions, and you care. And like you said, Congressman, all he had to say is, I'll take it under advisement.
Right.
You don't say something that's going to go on the record, that's on the transcript when you're the judge. I just don't get it. I really don't understand.
A federal judge is speaking not just for himself. In many ways, he's speaking for the United States of America. And to have our government and our people apologizing to a person who, by all accounts, and he's not found guilty of, but by all logical and normal accounts, was going to be a mass murderer. And that included in those victims of the mass murder would have been the president and the cabinet of the United States. So, it was absolutely indefensible what that judge did. It's again, I think it's something about the mindset of people on the left. You would hope when someone gets to the bench, the federal bench, that they put aside as much of their own personal biases and beliefs and political beliefs as they can. And again, no one's perfect on that, but this guy went so far over the edge, so far over the line, it's absolutely disgraceful.
You know, Congressman Peter King, and you know, there used to be a day when, you know, these types of things, and this may sound a little sexist, they would be carried out amongst men, you know, men. The First Lady of the United States was there, and this nut could care less. But I guess it goes back to when the feds raided Mar-a-Lago, going through her personal belongings and her residence. I mean, the First Lady of the United States sitting right there with her husband, and this nut still comes in. Hey, Congressman, I'm just curious. So a lot of people online are making, I think it's much ado about nothing, but I don't know, maybe you disagree, that the dog, I'm sure you've seen the video, the dog sniffed this guy out. Now, I don't think it was a dog for that purpose. And the officer, and maybe it's a good thing the officer didn't open that door, because he might have been executed right there on the spot. But the suspect was right on the other side of the door. Twice the dog went up to that door. Is that something, or as much ado about nothing?
When I first saw that and heard that, I was concerned. What I'm hearing now is that those are bomb sniffing dogs, and
correct.
The dog
That's
made a couple runs past it. And once there was no bomb, he left. So there was no, I guess by protocol, you know, the Secret Service agent did what he was supposed to do. Obviously, if he had gone further, he could have stopped that in advance. But that to me is really second guessing. His job was to see if there's any bombs there. The dog basically said there wasn't. So then he went on to the next location.
And you are correct there. So, Congressman Peter King, our Mamdani problem, right? I'm not going to mention Mr. 7%. I'm not going there. I'm not going to do it. I promise you I'm not going to do it. But how does he get away with his wife? You know, anybody else, it could have been campaign ending. His wife is a racist. She, you know, at a cafe in Williamsburg over the weekend, Miss Israel bumps into her. The moment that she finds out she's Miss Israel, her entire tone changed. How did Mamdani get away with this?
He wouldn't and couldn't if the media didn't go along with him, and if the base, and apparently almost maybe a majority of the Democratic Party, either goes along with him or is afraid to stand up to him. I mean, this is something that, again, in recent memory, I can't imagine this happening, even under, let's say, the worst days of Bill de Blasio, would you see anything like this. And if for some reason someone's wife or husband or son or daughter made some remark or made something which was anti-Semitic or racist or anti-Catholic, anti-Semitic, the family would find a way to either apologize for it or try to explain it and assure everyone it would never happen again. No, these guys, they just go ahead and do it. I mean, Dami just says, I'm not responsible for my wife. Well, you know, he's going to take credit for what she does. He's going to have her out there. She is the First Lady of New York. She gets the police protection. She lives in a government mansion, and she has obligations to the people of New York and to the basic decency which is supposed to prevail when you are living in Gracie Mansion. When you are either the mayor or a close relative of the mayor, you have an obligation, and she has certainly failed in that obligation.
So, Congressman King, I only have one or two more questions for you, but so over the weekend, I thought this was disgusting. Mamdani, you know, you had the incident at the Brooklyn hospital. ICE doing a wonderful job arresting that suspect. Drug arrest. This guy had a rap sheet.
Right.
In the country illegally. The protesters are outside protesting against the officers. Mamdani comes out on Monday and basically, denounces. He says, listen, the NYPD had nothing to do with that. He's bragging about the fact that the New York police were not called there for that, but only for the protest. What do we do about our Mamdani problem? Look at what the governor of Florida just said, and he's right. Right? Ron DeSantis is correct that Mamdani should win the Realtor of the Year for Florida because he's driving everybody out of New York that can afford to leave directly from New York to Florida. What do we do about our Mamdani problem?
Well, what we could do, listen, I want Bruce Blakeman to be our next governor, and I see what Bruce Blakeman has done here in Nassau County. With the Nassau County police work with ICE. They work with ICE when it comes to going after criminal suspects or illegal immigrants. We've had, I think Bruce said, over 2,000 bad guys have been taken off the streets. We're not talking about the innocent mother or the innocent father who's been here 15 or 20 years. We're talking about people who have criminal records. And he stood by ICE, he stood by the police, and that's what should be happening in New York. I mean, this is absolute madness. I mean, the cops had to put up with all those animals out there throwing that stuff around on the street, carrying on. And what happened here? ICE made a lawful arrest. They arrested the person they should have arrested. They took the person to the hospital for his good, to make sure he was put in good health, again, for his well-being. And while we were there, the word got out among the lunatics in the community, the evil people in the community, that ICE was in that hospital. And they attacked the hospital. They attacked the hospital and trying to get the ICE officers because they had arrested a person with a criminal record. They arrested and they brought a person into the hospital for his well-being. And that's the thanks that they got. So this is encouraged by the community. And to me, Mondami should have urged that every one of those people out in the street got locked up that night and didn't just get a slap in the wrist but got jail time.
I agree with you. Congressman, why is it, Congressman Peter King, why is it that these nuts on the left don't see that they're taking us back to the 42nd Street where you couldn't walk around? There were hookers on the corner, smut everywhere. Now you have Broadway shows there because of Rudy Giuliani. I also want you to comment on the mayor. But because of Giuliani, Dinkins got the cops. Giuliani cleaned up the city. What Mamdani wants to go back to that. So, Congressman, who in their right mind would want to return to those days?
Well, I would ask who in their right mind would have voted for Mondami for mayor. So that's another story, I guess.
That's a great point.
No one.
That's a great point.
Maybe people forget or haven't heard how bad those days were. And again, those of us who lived through it know how bad New York City was. You go back to 1990, 1991, 1992. You couldn't get on the subways. You were at Times Square. It was like worth your life going through there. And now, I mean, when I go in there and you see people walking their kids, walking along with children, showing them what the beauty of New York and the highlights of New York, and thinking what that was like just 35 years ago, 34 years ago, before Rudy became the mayor. I think part of the reason is they don't like the idea that it was the police that brought back the stability and the peace. And of course, these people, for whatever reason, in their anti-American, anti-police mode, just are anti-cop. They can't stand that. So they don't look on it as the crime being cleaned up. They look upon it as somehow cops getting credit, and they cannot handle that.
Congressman King, as always, I thank you for joining us. Regards to you, your family, your wife. Thank you, sir. I look forward to talking to you again very soon. And
Rosemary sends her love.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Congressman. And you have a great afternoon, a great evening. So, folks, Congressman Peter King, one of the smartest guys I know. He knows politics like the back of his hand. I don't get it with this Mamdani and this Ilhan Omar. But, oh, Congresswoman Omar, your day is coming. You don't want to turn over the documents. Why, Congresswoman? Because you know, like I know, what time it is. But the Trump administration is coming, Congresswoman. You're going to go down. And America, and okay, not America, me, myself, I'll speak for me. I can't wait. When they take you down, I'm going to McDonald's. I'm not supposed to have it. I'm going to get a Big Mac, and I'm going to celebrate because you are corrupt and crooked, and we are coming right back.
The Dominic Carter Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And the Tunnel to Towers Foundation final thoughts of the day. It just hit me, guys. All of you guys out there. Sunday is Mother's Day. Don't mess this up. Myself included. On Friday, my daughter Courtney from Rhode Island is going to join me. I made a deal with my wife that if she comes on one more time, I'll leave her alone for the next 3 months. So we basically did an unwritten contract. She's going to join me for Mother's Day. And on Saturday, the day before Mother's Day, we'll all be in Nutley, New Jersey, talking about special needs kids and my son Dominic. He'll be with us as well. And so, folks, if you get a chance, Nutley, New Jersey will be there on Saturday from noon until 2 p.m. Come by and say hello. Let's take a picture. Just don't come by and complain about something I said, because it's my Saturday. And I got to work on Sunday. So wait a minute here, Jimmy Fontanez. You are outsmarting me on Staten Island. Jimmy just made a great point. The federal judge apologizes to that lowlife savage that's been arrested for the attempted assassination of the president. Jimmy makes a great point. Jimmy said, who apologized to the J6ers when they were put into inhumane conditions? Jimmy goes on to say, I'm waiting. And Debbie Lebedo, thank you for helping me out, Debbie. I couldn't think of who did that song. All I could think about when it comes to Mom Donnie. And I'm about to go to Nancy in New Jersey, line 4. But all I can think about when it comes to Mom Donnie is that we're all going down for real. And Debbie Lebedo helped me out. She put on my Twitter, on my X, at Dominic TV. I'm going down. Rolls Royce, great song. So Mom Donnie, I wish you were not the mayor. You and your boy, Mr. 7%. But this song is for you.
Since you've been away, boy,
this is Mom Donnie's theme song. He's taking us all down. He's running away all the billionaires. They pay the bills, folks. This is Mom Donnie's theme song. We got to come up with one for his racist wife. The best part for Mom Donnie is coming up right now. This goes out to Mom Donnie on the Upper East Side. But we don't need you around, Mom Donnie. All right, Carlos, thank you. Nancy, line 4. That's right, my whole world upside down. Rolls Royce, thank you. Debbie Lebedo. Nancy in New Jersey, line 4. Nancy, what's going on?
I'm disappointed that handler did not pay attention to his canine. I was a supervisor at our canine unit at our sheriff's office. After years of doing volunteer work and rescue work, that dog smelled the adrenaline. I was told early on, fear and aggression smell the same to a canine because it's the adrenaline they're shooting off. And I'm sure this guy was shooting it off left and right. That dog knew, and I wish his handler had paid attention to that.
Okay, but Nancy, chances are if he had opened that door, he'd have been shot in the face or shot in his chest.
Well,
the officer.
You mean the dog?
No, the officer.
Well, then you put up your arms. That dog is indicating. That dog was indicating that there was a problem out there. So you draw your weapon and you focus on that door. Pay attention to the canine. They know.
But this is not Monday morning quarterbacking. What if it happened to be another officer?
Well, you don't pull the trigger.
Right. Well, you are raising a great point there, Nancy. The dog knew something. Let's go to Connie, line 5 in Westchester. Connie, what's on your mind?
No, I'm in Long Island, West Hempstead.
Okay, Connie, I'm short on time. Get to the point, please.
Okay. I think the voter rolls should be all checked out. I think they brought in illegals to vote.
Okay, what are you referring to? You talking about Mom Donnie? Connie, I've got 15 seconds left. Are you talking about Mom Donnie and voter rolls?
Let's get them out.
Okay, there's nothing we can do to get them out. There's nothing we can do. We're stuck with them, Connie. That's the bottom line. Thank you for the call. Folks born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been honoring America's heroes ever since. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org. T2T.org. I am back live midnight tonight.
Thanks for listening to The Dominic Carter Show. You can hear The Dominic Carter Show weekdays at 3 p.m. and Monday through Thursday at midnight and Sunday starting at 11 p.m. on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here? Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball. Come out to the ballpark this week as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Charleston Dirty Birds May 5th through the 10th. Grab the kids and come on out. We kick it off on Tuesday, May 5th with Cinco de Baseball with $5 tickets and $5 food and beverage specials. And we end the week as we celebrate all moms on Mother's Day. Moms get in free. Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.